all convening at 10:18. Would the offender please give your full name and your Department of Corrections ID?
Michael Bandford, 326381.
Thank you, Ms. Stanford. My name is Alvin Roche. To my left is Mrs. Bonnie Jackson. To my right is Ms. Pearl Wise, who will be your parole panelists for you. Let me explain the process to you. I will read some information into the record. Once that information is in the record, we'll conduct a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we'll allow Lieutenant Barnes to make comments or observations. And after that, we'll allow the opposition, Mr. Randy Myers from the Jefferson Parish District Attorney's Office to make a statement. And then we'll get statements from your supporters. Perry Stagg, former warden at Louisiana State Penitentiary, Norris Henderson, a friend, Miss Stephanie Ross, your mother, Miss Kristen Starkley, your sister, Mr. Andrew Huntley of the Louisiana Parole Project, and Mr. Wayne Murphy, a friend. We're only going to allow 3 individuals to speak. So do you have a choice who you would like to speak, Mr. Brightland?
Yes, sir.
Bedford? Mr.
Yes.
Bedford?
Yes, Mr. Roche. I would like Warden Stagg, Norris Henderson, and Wayne Murphy to speak.
Okay. And we're going to assume that you have a contract with the Louisiana Parole Project,
Yes, sir.
and they are willing to, and I'll just get a brief statement from Mr. Huntley after I hear from the 3 that you've chosen. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And then once we hear from all of the participants, we'll give you a chance to make a statement on your behalf before we vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
The offender's name is Michael Bandford, DOC number 326-381. Mr. Bandford is 48 years old, and he is a second felony offender. His offense is second-degree murder. He was originally sentenced in 1994, but he just recently got a commutation of sentence from Governor John Bell Edwards on October 20th, 2022. And his sentence was computed to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility. His parole date now is October 20th, 2022. His adjusted good time date, June 1st, 2043, and his full term date, December 1st, 2092. Is all this information correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Bamford. Excuse me. Nice seeing you again.
Nice seeing you too, sir.
Okay, tell us what you have accomplished since your pardon hearing a year or 2 ago.
Okay. At the time, I was working in the crime lab, and now I'm working at the governor's mansion. I work in the laundry room to take care of all the clothes for the first family, and even the state troopers that work there as well. I went through life recovery, Toastmasters classes, and I was asked to speak by Toastmasters, speak to a victim awareness class with Miss April Zephyr, and I moderated that program, and I also spoke about it. During Hurricane Ida, I worked at GOSEF, I think it was 23 days to clean up and help the staff out, the governor's staff, and also members of other agencies that came in throughout the United States.
Okay, so tell us what programs you've completed since you're here.
Life recovery and the victim awareness class through Toastmasters, sir.
Okay. So you've been at the police barracks for about 2 years and 2 months.
Yes, sir.
So you've worked at, what was your first assignment?
My first assignment job, I was working at Fleet. Then I was asked to go to the crime lab, in which I did. Then I was asked to go to DOC headquarters, which I did. And then I was selected to go to the governor's mansion to work.
So evidently, first three assignments, you probably did a real good job, and you were assigned to the governor's mansion.
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Burns, do you have any information concerning Mr. Bandford since his pardon hearing?
Yes, sir. Although he's just been here just 2 years, I don't think we've ever had a more dynamic individual as Mr. Bandford. I hate to use the word entertaining, but that's probably the best way to put it. I guess friendly would be another way to put it. He's with everybody that comes into contact, it seems he automatically draws people to him. Extremely friendly, helpful to everybody. He treats everybody like they're his best friend. It's just, all I can say is just the best word is dynamic. We've had no issues out of him. Obviously, he's a great worker. Although he's had numerous jobs in his 2 short years, it's not because of issues. It's because the word of his work ethic spreads and people want him. So that's how he's had several jobs since he's been here. So other than that, we've just had 0 issues out of it.
Thank you, Lieutenant Burns. Mr. Bandford, when was your last disciplinary write-up?
I believe it was 2010 or 2011, June.
And you've been incarcerated for how many years?
29 years, 3 months, and 16 days as of today.
So when you talk about rounded off to 30 years, how many disciplinary write-ups have you had?
16, sir.
And you hadn't had one since 2010, 2011.
Yes, sir.
You at least 11 or 12 years right up free.
Yes, sir.
What bell went off, or what event, or what person, or what program can you attribute to the turnaround in your disciplinary conduct?
I will have to go back to my seminary days, and one of the most profound courses that we took was Spiritual Crisis, Surviving Trauma to the Soul. That class helps you to reflect on the things that you suffered throughout your life, and the things that I had to deal with. I had to come face to face with them. And it didn't make me bitter, it made me better, because I wanted to embrace those things so that I can be a better individual throughout my life. Whether or not this moment would have came or not, I just wanted to be better and be an asset and not a liability to people. And that course was the most meaningful that I took during seminary.
Okay, tell us about your transition plan.
My transition plan, I will go to the parole project. From there, I'll be working with a friend of mine. He has box trucks in the Baton Rouge area. I'll work with him to do that as well. I also have some programs that I've written. I Am Empowered, I Pledge, and I'm in the process of doing the Village for Children. I want to interact with kids to give them a chance in today's society, because I was once responsible for destroying the fabric of it. Now I'm responsible for restoring the fabric of it. And that's my life's work, and that's what I intend to do.
What is your permanent residency plan?
I will be living in the Baton Rouge area, sir. Once I accumulate them funds that I would need, then I will lead the parole project, and I will be living in the Baton Rouge area.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Jack.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Bandford. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Ms. Jackson. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Mr. Bandford, as I was looking at your case and refreshing my memory from your clemency application, I wanted to ask you if you could help me. You were 19 years old when this occurred, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you help me understand the mindset of a 19-year-old who just doesn't seem to value the life of other people? Tell me how you developed that mindset, that you just had no regard for taking someone's life. So help me understand that mindset.
Okay, I'll have to go here to bolster what I want to say. The Bible says there's a way that seemeth right to a man, but the end thereof is destruction. And at the age of 19, there was a way that seemed right, but the end thereof was destruction.
Why would that seem, why would taking someone's life seem right?
Not in that regard, man. I'm speaking in terms of the things that we engage in at that age. We think we know everything. The things that we find ourselves involved in, we think we know everything. And because we think we know everything, we don't know that on the other side of that, there's a lot of things that we're going to experience that we're going to wish that we never even considered or never even act upon. So an individual, even in today's society, there's things that have so many young men trapped, like myself, that we thought we were doing what we knew was right, and we wasn't. And it's not to the extent of taking in anyone's life. It's to the extent to say that the way that we grew up, and me, and the childhood that I had, those things inflicted upon me, and I carried those things out. But it wasn't to the intent to take anyone's life. It was to say that, well, I'm just going to do these things, and these are the things that hampered and hindered me and caused me to find myself in a situation where 2 men's lives were taken, and it should have never been done.
Well, the reason that I ask you that, Mr. Bandford, is, you know, I'm sure you have some awareness of the news and what's going on around you.
Yes, ma'am.
And senseless violence committed by teenagers is rampant. You're in Baton Rouge, probably in New Orleans and everywhere else around the country. And so, you know, I often wonder, well, what is it about a person that would just, you know, have life be so meaningless? Take someone's life is nothing to them. And I'm trying to get a sense of understanding that. One of the things that you said about being a moderator for victim awareness.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you think bringing victim awareness from outside the prison, from inside the prison to outside the prison, how do you think that might impact the thinking of some of the young men who are potential killers? How did it impact you?
Because it helped me to begin to see how selfish one could be. It helped me to begin to understand the pain that people go through, the empathy. It's like when those things transpire, it's like you have a 1,000,000-piece puzzle and you throw it to someone and you tell them to put their lives back together. That's extremely difficult for a victim to do and their families to do. And they don't deserve that. And to get someone to understand that, you have to engage those individuals and try your best to tell your story and the stories of people that were around you, to help them to get to see that if you continue on this path, these are the same things going to happen, because so many young people are operating out of hurt, and hurt people. And is incumbent upon me, and not only me, but other people who are released, to go out and try to help these young people to begin to the point and do it.
Give me a specific way in which you would utilize what you learned in your programming in DOC. Give me specifics of how you would translate that from the inside to the outside.
Okay, first I would have to speak with them, engage them, and know exactly where they are. I can't put myself above them, because I'm not. I have to be eye level with them, and I have to build a bridge so that they'll be able to communicate back and forth with me and know that I'm not there to judge them, but I'm there to help them. And sometimes it can be extremely difficult to get someone to talk, because they have so many things bottled up on the inside of them. But if you keep that bridge going, they get comfortable with you and able to express the things that they've been feeling and thinking, then you're able to help them to get to the point where they need to be in their life so they wouldn't commit a crime that'll shatter the lives of people.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's possible to facilitate a victim awareness program on the outside?
Yes, ma'am, and I would love to do it at some point.
And how would you set that up?
Well, I was speaking with Warden Stagg and Mr. Norris Henderson, and they're offering to program and Warden Hooper as well. And if I have the opportunity to do it, then I most certainly do it because I feel like I owe that to victims of crime.
Because what I'm starting to learn is that some of the programs in DOC are really life-changing programs, but people don't get them till they get into DOC. And perhaps if we bring some of those programs outside the prison or they get to that point, we might be able to affect to some degree the level of violence that is just destroying our community.
Mm-hmm. May I add one thing, Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
I really think that these things should be also added within parish prisons or jails because it's most needed there. And I think that would help an individual gauge what they have done. But the great thing about it is to do it before it even gets to that point. And like you were saying, to incorporate it within society, that is the best way to go about it to prevent any future things from happening.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bandford. I appreciate you answering the question.
You're welcome, ma'am.
No, of course.
At this time, we're going to have Mr. Randy Myers of the Jefferson Parish District Attorney's Office making a statement. Mr. Myers.
Good morning, Randy Myers, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. This is a tough one for me. I have a letter of opposition in the record, and we will stand by that letter of opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. First of all, we're going to hear from former Warden Perry Stagg. Warden Stagg.
Good morning, Mr. Roche.
Morning, Warden.
Good to see all of you.
Good. Nice seeing you.
Look, I'd like to just echo kind of what the captain said about Mike. I've been around Mike for about 15 years now, both at Angola and at Hunt. He was my orderly for about 2 years at Hunt. We spent a lot of time together every day. Ever since I've known Mike, he's been kind, he's been humble, genuine, respectful to not just authority figures, but also to other inmates. He spent just about all the time that I've ever been around him doing his best to try to find ways to help other people. Most of the time, young inmates who are just coming in the system, trying to help them understand how to fit in and how to get started on the right foot and how not to fall in the traps that a lot of young inmates fall into. The captain said Mike is entertaining. That's an understatement. He kept us all laughing all the time. Just a genuinely good guy that everybody seems to like and everyone trusts. Just the fact that he's doing laundry at the governor's mansion, that shows the amount of trust that's placed in a guy like Michael Bandford. He had access to my office many, many times when no one else was around. I never worried one time about Mike doing anything he shouldn't do. He's the guy he represents himself to be. And I'm excited about his opportunity to get out. I think Mike's got a lot to offer the world, the Baton Rouge area, the people around him, the people that care about him, and the people that he's going to touch along the way. I'm absolutely going to try to find ways that I can use him. Since I retired, I'm now working at a prison up in Woodville, Mississippi. We've got a lot of young guys that could really use a guy like Mike to hear from. I think it would make a big impact on them. And so I will most certainly put all his training and his desire to help others to work. So if y'all have any other questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
Lord, and thank you for your participation each night senior.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Norris Henderson.
Good morning, board. First of all, again, thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mike. And when Ms. Wise was talking about the conference she was at, I was at that very same conference. I happened to bump into Ms. Wise coming out the elevator. And you know, you learn a lot when you kind of like share information. I don't even know where to begin at with Mike, because I was there when Mike first showed up. And to see Mike to where he's at right now today is almost like the proud parent, in the sense of seeing your kid really grow up. And to one of the things Ms. Jackson kept pushing Mike with trying to figure out was, well, what do I do with all this? You know, and I think one of the biggest things is finding credible messengers. And the credible messengers are folks who have been through on this journey, you know, haven't got to the destination yet, but has been on this journey for a long time, learning. And, you know, I taught Mike in enhancement classes. I was his football coach. And two of the guys on the team called me Pop. Mike was one of them. Not Pop because I was older than him, because Michael kind of looked up to me in a way that, you know, everybody did, but in a different way. And to this day, he still calls me Pop. I just went and visited him 2 weeks ago. And so I'm just trying to see this thing to fruition, because Mike, just like Warren Stagg say, Mike has a lot to offer, not just us individuals, but society as a whole. I'm willing to support Michael in doing those things, doing that outreach to victims. I was just saying while y'all was talking, I have to go to court tomorrow for a victim impact statement. You know, my brother was killed in a car accident, you know, and so it now has thrust me into another role that I have never been familiar. I've been familiar with, but never had the opportunity to do. And at the same time, you want justice, but at the same time, in order to get mercy, you got to give it. And so I think we're at the crossroads right now where, you know, again, what Mr. Myers was saying is that, and I've been kind of like, and this is to Mr. Myers, Craig, you know, I've kind of like learned how Mr. Myers, if somebody has really done something to redeem himself, Mr. Myers would show up just like he showed up in this case. And if they had, Mr. Myers would just come right out and say, no, we're not going to do this one here, not today, tomorrow, the next day. And so I'm just excited by the fact that to see that Michael has not only convinced the people who know him, but the people who don't know him, who just know him from a cold record, to see that this young man has really changed his life, to see how articulate Mike has become, it's kind of like refreshing. And, you know, when, you know, I was looking at the cap when he was saying Mike can be entertainment. Me and Warren Stagg, both of us smiled at the same time because we know he can be really entertaining. But I think Mike has really earned the opportunity for this chance to come out and to show the world that to be, like he said again, to be an asset, not a liability. You know, to show the world that all he needed was a chance. And with that chance, he can show the world that he would take full advantage of this opportunity of educating himself to the highest he could within a correctional environment. And he has put all of that to work in helping other people. And the fact that he said he wants to come into local jails, I am starting Friday, starting to go into the Orleans Justice Center to do just what Mike was talking about, trying to educate these young men about what lies ahead from them and how to get a handle of it right now. Don't wait 20, 30 years down the line and be saying, if I would, should have. If you can kind of figure it out right now, you can help solve and resolve some of the trauma that you have faced and some of the trauma that other people face because of you. And so again, I you know, I can just go on and on and on about Michael, but I would just hope and pray that today is that day that he gets reunited with his family, and to show his mom, Miss Stephanie, you know, how great he has become. He has become the child that she's always wanted him to be. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Now we're gonna hear from Miss Stephanie. Miss Stephanie? Stephanie, you're still muted.
Okay, Stokey. Oh.
Oh, yes, okay. Let's hear from Miss Christie. Miss Christie?
This is Christy Sturkey, Michael Bansford brother. I mean sister. He sometimes called me a brother. He called me Charlie, but I am very I am very supportive of my brother. I have his back. He's going to do awesome and well. We have some of the same great ideas. Mike, I'm proud of you, and I just cannot wait till you get home and make everybody else laugh and encourage these kids. We need somebody like you out here, you know, and I'm right here on your side, and I just can't wait to see you. I am working though.
And
That ain't special.
Wayne Murphy.
Yes, sir.
Would you go up to the podium, Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
And-
Yes, sir, right there. And give us your name and your relationship to Mike. Turn the other way. Sir. Turn the other way behind the. Yes, sir.
There we go.
First of all, I'd like to give thanks to each and every one of you for allowing me to stand before you and speak on behalf of my family. I met Mike and about 24 years ago, and since then I've known Mike to grow and grow and grow. Like Nora stood before you a few minutes ago and said that he was our, he is still our leader, always will be our leader. I'm a member of both from Baton Rouge, which is Mr. Morrison's community. I'm a former worker for Catholic Charities and Transitional Housing. Up until recently, I started here at Elgin. I still am a volunteer for Phone Fathers on Mission. And I'm doing everything in the Baton Rouge community to do my part. Because as Mike said, you know, we've done some things in the past that we all don't, you know, that we all do regret, but we, you know, don't want to leave behind. We want to do some things to help others in the future. And so I'm begging on behalf of Mike to allow him to come out here and join forces with me. I think that the community here in Baton Rouge needs people like Mike, myself, and others who are bold enough to go into these neighborhoods and win the confidence of the young people to know that, to let them know that we're not against them, we're for them, but we're here to help change their way of thinking. I think that Mike has the ability to do it because we did it in prison. We did it with Men of Change, with other mentor programs. That you didn't hear about that, but we created mentorship programs in prison, and we were successful. Those guys let us walk in there with the Commissioner of Wards, and we went there and we helped those guys, helped change their mindset, and it helped alleviate a lot of problems in prison. There was times where I could recall that Mike and myself went to situations where security officers wouldn't have been able to go without some use of force. And we went there and talk it out of them, to get the weapon and turn them in. And the guys trusted that we wasn't there for, we was there to alleviate the problem, stop them from getting hurt, and stop others from getting hurt. And we taught classes on anger management and making for a change and so many other things that I know that with Mike coming home, we can go into the neighborhood. And I'm not from Baton Rouge, but I live in Baton Rouge. And I need support from people like him that's bold enough to walk into these people. I need it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all for letting me speak. We love him, and him and my wife and I have been there for him. Visits through phone calls, through money, through whatever it is we could do to support Mike, and including standing here. He thought I was going to be on Zoom this morning, but I surprised him and showed it. And I just want to add one thing, sir, that from time to time, and this is a rare special time that you may see, you're not going to see a generic me standing here advocating the release of anyone. I don't. I advocate the release of somebody like Michael Bandford, who done everything they could to prove to you that I'm not going to be a liability to society. I'm going to be an asset. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Is the Louisiana Pro Project still logged on? Andrew, I will give you a few minutes to tell us about your transition plan.
Yeah, really brief. Michael is a client of Louisiana Parole Project. If he's released, he'll take part in our residential reentry program. We commit to giving housing support and case management to Michael until the point that he can afford to obtain his own apartment, but he will have case management with our organization for a minimum of 1 year. He will take part in all the phase 1 programming that all of our other clients take part in, and we have a high degree of confidence in his success based on his institutional disciplinary work and programming record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huntley. Mr. Banford,
Yes, sir.
give us a brief closing statement.
First, I would like to thank you all for allowing me to come on the board and come before you all today. And thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, sir. Is the panel ready to vote? Mrs. Jackson.
All right, Mr. Banford, you've done well. The board voted to recommend clemency. The governor signed the clemency on October 20th, 22. You've had very positive comments from Lieutenant Burns and all the other people that spoke for you. It's obvious that you have grown quite a bit. You have served others in addition to working on yourself. And I believe that you have an opportunity to truly make an impact on the lives of people on the outside of the institution that may deter them from becoming offenders themselves. I would particularly love to see you facilitate a victims awareness class. I think that is one of the programs that has the greatest impact on participants. But my vote today would be to grant your release to the Louisiana Parole Project. I would also add as a condition of your parole that you perform at least 8 hours of community service work.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Mrs. White.
Mr. Branford, I enjoyed reading last night and just hearing all the support and all. I'm just so optimistic as to what kind of impact. Another workshop I went to was called Repair Harm, and you've already stated that I'm going to repair harm in the community. I'm just overwhelmed. I concur with my colleague. My vote is to grant as well. I do want to stay on the record that when I read your mother's statement, she said that you had your high school diploma and you have a BA in Christian ministries from the New Orleans Cemetery. And I just wanted to state that on the record, that, everybody don't get that, don't go that far. And I concur with the special condition that's set forth by my colleague. That's what she said.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Banford, you have received 2 votes to grant your early release. I agree with my colleague 100%. You've done very well. You've been an asset to DOC, and I can understand you've been very entertaining too. So based on the remarks by my colleagues, I'm going to also grant your early release under the following conditions. First of all, we have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. You are to do community service, and we'll make that community service with at-risk youth.
Okay.
We have a story to tell. Tell your story, try to lead these young folks in the right direction. 8 hours a month. And you are to work with individuals like Mr. Norris Henderson and Mr. Andrew Huntley and try to create and facilitate a victim awareness program in the community.
Yes,
You
sir.
understand those conditions?
Yes, sir.
You have received 3 votes. Grant your request. Your request for early release has been granted. Good luck and good day.
I do want to say on the record that we did reach out to the victim in this case, and you do have opposition from the victim's family, the Bell family. I just want to state that on the record.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Have a good day, Mr. Banford.
You too, sir. Thank you all.
Okay, to Randy's credit, I don't know if he had a choice but to show up to this. He said that he's just basically like, yeah, there's a note in opposition. So it seemed everyone kind of was just wanted him to get out. I did look up his crime here, and I'll drop the link. It looks like in 1993 that there was that he killed someone, but there were 2 people that were killed, but there were 2 shooters. I'm not really clear because I just didn't spend a lot of time looking into it because I wasn't 100% sure if it was the right person, but pretty sure it is. I'll drop the link in there. I really do like what he said about, they were talking about, hey, you should set up ways to talk to other young people your age. How would you do it? And he described it, I thought, perfectly. Like, here's someone who not only thought about it, but he understands it. He understands what to do. It seems certainly that he's passionate about helping. And then he said something which I think he's so right about, although sadly, just because of the bureaucracy, I doubt it would happen, but of putting it in jails. There's one thing to try to do it before they get into jail, but so many people just aren't really listening. But if you're in jail, you're locked up, you don't have a lot to do, it's kind of like a good funnel. But again, I don't know anything about it, but I assume that the whole bureaucratic thing and allotting finances to jails is just such a hurdle that who knows if it can happen. But I do think he was right about saying that. I didn't look into the details of the case. It's obvious that he was very young at the time, and I do think he can do a lot to, just listening to him, he could do a lot to help kids out there, and that's really important, right? A lot of people say it,
but you just don't see it happening. This is different. Like I can see him being good at it and actually making a difference in his community. And for that, I think it's really great. I do. And pretty amazing to see a warden say what he said. I think that's the second or third time we've seen a warden come out and do that. It doesn't happen often. With that, I'll let you go.